So when you see the word noble truth of dukkha, noble truth of the origin of dukkha, you sort of have an idea what it is, right? Look at this. What is the origin of the world? The word world, loka, as I've mentioned before, it is not the external physical world. It is what features in your mind. Because for you, your reality is the experience that arises in your mind. And in those experiences is your reality, your sense of the world. Therefore, according to the Buddha, the origin of the world, dependent on your organ and an external object, there is a consciousness, there is contact, okay? All this comes from, these are all Buddha's words, one more. With contact as the condition, feeling comes to be. With feeling as a condition, craving comes to be. With craving as condition, clinging. With clinging as condition, existence. With existence as condition, birth. With birth as condition, aging, death, sorrow, lamentations, pain, dejection, and despair. This is the origin of the world. In other words, in this particular stanza, the Buddha tried to show us how you have experience of dukkha and how dukkha came to be. You will notice that in this particular flow of the argument, first there is all these tangible, this is just normal processes. This is a normal mental process. The eye seeing a form, the ear hearing a sound, the nose experiencing smell, the tongue having a taste experience, etc. These are all organic process. But when there is contact, feeling arises which leads to craving, and therefore the dukkha comes about. In this formulation, the Buddha has explained down to the process level how dukkha and craving are linked. Here you see that the way our mind react to the world is very fast. I mean, can you really break down the process? You can't. Honestly, you actually can't. Can you break down the process? This is I, there is form, there is consciousness, there's contact, and then there is feeling and craving. You don't. Your experience is in a split nanosecond. Not even split second. It's 100 millimeter of that second, you know. I don't even know what's the scientific term. And in that split nano of a second, you already have craving arising. So here the Buddha says your organic, the way the mind works, because of that feeling that pops up, and very quickly your craving will just follow. And once your craving starts, your clinging starts, you have all these beginning of dukkha. It's very fast. So in this formulation, Buddha explained to the monk, watch your mind very carefully, see how quickly. If you're not careful, if you're not mindful, if you're not watching the sense door, which is why he kept saying watch the sense door, if you're not watching the sense doors, you're very quickly going to have the arising of feeling and craving starts. Very fast. And that becomes the origin of the dukkha. Okay? He went on to say, What is the passing away of the world? In dependence on the I forms, I consciousness, as all these things. You have all these we know, right? Dependent on this, I form, I consciousness, meeting of three is contact, contact is condition, feeling with feeling is condition, craving, you know this. But we're not interested in that because that's what we all experience. We are interested in how to end it. And this is how it works. Cessation of that same craving comes the cessation of clinging. Cessation of clinging. In other words, wait, let me just go back again. In other words, if you can stop craving, then clinging stops. If you can stop clinging, existence stops. If existence stops, birth stops. The noble truth of the cessation of dukkha. Without directly knowing and fully understanding the all, without developing this passion towards it and abandoning it, one is incapable of destroying dukkha. What is the all? What is the all? It means in every step of a mental experience, seeing, feeling, contact, feeling, having a reaction, craving, know for all of them. As it comes up, see it. Every step. And in every step that you see and observe, you learn to develop a certain distancing. For everything, you see something, you observe your mind, the mind gears towards it, you hold it. Don't chiong towards the object. You see the object, you just see the object. You have a mental experience to the object, know the arising of the mental experience. There's a feeling that arises, know there's a feeling. Don't chase after it, just observe the arising. Distance between the seeing a distance between observing the object and the object. I repeat, see that distance between observing the object and the object. Do you understand that? Meaning to say that when you're seeing something, do not call it mine. Don't call it I. It's just something happening. If you don't own the object, don't own the feeling, there is a distance, you maintain a certain equanimity. When you are able to maintain that equanimity, the feelings that come out, do not search. You just see that feeling. There is a distance. Now, if you are able to observe all these technical parts arising and dissipating as they come up, at some point, your mind starts to lose attachment. Lose attachment to the process. Our problem is very caught up with whatever experiences, and every experience, we own it. The moment you own each experience, you feel the experience. The pain will arise, attachment will come, and it goes on. So, unless you can see the mental parts as they come up, and then you develop a certain detachment to the arisings, form, consciousness, perception, feelings. You actually develop a certain detachment to the arising. Until you can do that, it's very difficult to let go. Because ultimately it's all about letting go. Okay? Last sentence. without directly knowing and fully understanding form, eye consciousness, eye contact, feeling arises with eye contact as condition without developing this passion towards it. Maybe each part, and letting it go, you cannot destroy dukkha. Understand? Samyutta Nikaya 35:26. Full understanding. Okay? Moving on. Kakin. Move on, huh? Okay. Mounts. All is burning. And what is the all that is burning? The form is burning, eye consciousness, eye contact, feeling that arises with eye contact as condition. Whether pleasant or painful, or neither pleasant nor painful, they are all burning. Burning with what? Burning with the fire of lust, the fire of hatred, the fire of delusion, burning with birth, aging, death, sorrow, lamentation, pain, displeasure, and despair. In other words, if you are not mindful and you don't watch the arising as is, then each part you feel, you cling, you chase. Each part, each arising you chase. By then it's too late. If you can maintain that detachment, that distance, and you are aware as it comes up, just know it's coming up. That's all, part by part by part. And you don't chase after each one. The form, the consciousness, the contact, the feeling, each one. You don't chase after each one. After a while, you develop a certain dispassion towards each arising. You don't chase them. It's just coming up, coming up, coming up. As long as you chase, you can't see the end of it. Each one. Okay? Can I move on? Seeing thus the instructed noble disciple. Instructed means the person who is learning under him. Okay? Experiences, strong words, revulsion towards the eye, the form, consciousness, eye contact, and feeling which arises. The word revulsion is very strong. But what it means is, when you begin to see arising again and again, when you begin to see them, it reaches a point when you got tired. You just get tired. So this sian liao, okay, local word would be sian liao. It's another arising. This sensation of sian is how your mind will react when you see another arising. Again. So you will feel that. When you begin to feel that, and you must feel it, feel this sianness dispassionately, meaning to say you don't get caught up with the sian. Even that you have to see with some distancing. Okay? Meaning to say, oh, okay, got it. Yeah, I get it. I'm seeing it. I understand it. It's okay. I get it. The moment you can say it's okay, I get it, this is when you become dispassionate. Understand? Love it when you start nodding your head because this is very important. This is your entering stream. When it is liberated, through dispassion, the mind is liberated. The point when your mind can say, I'm tired of all this arising. And then got used to this arising and the mind says, it's okay, I get it. It's just arising. And arising means there will be cessation. The mind gets it. The mind gets it, not you, the mind. When it gets it, this is when the mind feels light. Through dispassion, the mind is liberated. The mind feels light. And you must know it. You feel light and you don't know that's feeling light, problem. Because here it says, when the mind is freed, it feels free. The knowledge, there comes the knowledge it's liberated. Panya is required here. What's panya? Intuitive wisdom is required during this stage. This stage when the mind, the intuitive wisdom recognizes the sense of, I'm very tired of all this arising, and then realizing that the mind is becoming somewhat detached about the arising, and then realizing that in that detachment, actually, what the heck, it's okay. It's just another arising, and it feels happy with that knowledge. Must know all the step. Then when it feels happy with that knowledge, it feels light. This is liberation. And the knowledge, now my mind understands what's going on. My mind saw this, understood this, realizes this. My mind is now light. The knowledge that this is the process it goes through, that knowledge has to be internalized. When that knowledge is internalized, the mind says, I now get it. That's why the last part, destroy its birth, holy life has been lived. What has to be done has been done. There's no more of the state of being. The mind needs to know. It has reached the point where it understood and it's now ready to let go. You have to go through all these. Samyutta Nikaya 3528, burning. Okay? Last one. Up until this point, let's not distract you, okay? Up until that point, do you understand? Yes. This is important, okay? This is the step to understanding Dhamma, seeing the Dhamma. So you have to see the Dhamma, starting with impermanence, then seeing the dukkha, eventually teaching the mind, telling the mind, teaching the mind to change the lens through which it sees the world. All this while, the habit is to own everything that it experiences. You have to teach the mind to disown everything. Not I, not mine, no self. You have to teach the mind. When the mind gets to a state of not just conceptually thinking it, but accepting it. The mind must believe. You must believe in all these things that you keep teaching it. So when the mind believes, it has a whole new experience. It now will look through the world and say, ecosystems. Ecosystems. This must be your new catchword, okay? And once you start to feel the ecosystems that operate in the mind and in the form, when you start to feel it that way, you start to see the world through a very different lens. You start to not see this as a self, Anattā, okay? Not yet. But I will remember you want to ask a question, okay? He's the first one, you all don't fight with him. Okay. So, get to this point, when you get to this point, this part is non-negotiable. You have to go through all these. All these in your meditation, and it must spill into daily life. Okay? Once you have understood these, you start to look at the Four Noble Truths in not the traditional way. When the Buddha kept saying, remember, he would always say, dukkha has to be understood as it is. The origin of dukkha has to be abandoned. The cessation of dukkha has to be realized, experienced. The path has to be developed, walk. All these begin to make sense when you start to see anatta, and then you start to see all the parts, how it leads to dukkha, how each contact point could end up with dukkha. It keeps spinning that way. That's your samsara. When you talk about samsara, that's samsara. Samsara is to experience the dukkha again and again and again and again and again until you kiss yow. Okay? And finally, you begin to realize When we say conditionality, forget about the formula. That's not what we're interested in. Sorry. It's not the formula. It is to understand that your mind is conditional parts. And these conditional parts are not driven by you. They're just like that. One after another, they fit. Now, this has been said by the Blessed One. This came from a sutta. Maha is great. Hati is elephant. Padopama, the footprints, okay? So the greater discourse on the simile of the elephant's footprint. One who sees dependent origination sees the Dhamma. One who sees the Dhamma sees dependent origination. It is difficult to understand. There was a conversation. Take the translation by Bhikkhu Bodhi. There was a conversation between Anattā and the Buddha. And Anattā happily told the Buddha, this dependent arising is so deep, appears so deep, but to me I understand, clear as can be. It's a Sotapanna telling the Buddha that. Okay? And the Buddha said, I flip, don't say that. It's deep, appears deep. But because of not understanding and penetrating this Dhamma, the generation, they all like that. Read for yourself. It is not important part. The important is the next one. Okay? Seriously, you're taking everything. Now, this is what I want to say. Very common for us to get all caught up by that chain. You know, dependent origination is a chain, right? Starts with ignorance, going to Shankara, Vijnana, and so on. So it is a chain, okay? We all get caught up with it because we keep asking ourselves, what does this mean? What does this mean? This is how the mind works, and so on and so forth. But actually, the main thing is the purpose of this chain is to show the connection between dukkha and craving. Buddha was trying to show how, because of ignorance, you end up with dukkha. It's trying to show that connection. If you were to see the Dhamma and see the mind as conditional, then the formula becomes easy to understand. Now, I'm going to introduce one version which is not commonly talked about, but if you see this version, it may be easier for you to understand conditionality, okay? This version is from the conversation between Buddha and Anattā, and in the conversation, the Buddha said, if one is asked, and the start point is death, are aging and death due to a specific condition? One should reply, birth is conditioned. This part is obvious. There is death because there is birth. Yes? Who disagrees? They all laugh at you if you disagree, okay? Just so evil, you're not supposed to laugh so happily. Then you ask, is birth due to a specific condition? Because here, remember, the intent here is to show something happens because something exists. That's the idea of conditionality. Something happens because a certain condition is there. Death happens because you were born. If you weren't born, you wouldn't die. Logic. Logic. Then here it says, is birth due to a specific condition? It's not what you think, it is existence. Meaning to say, there is such a thing as beings existing. If there were no such thing as beings existing, how do you get born? You understand this concept first, huh? Understand logically, but right now, because you probably haven't quite seen Paticca Samuppada, right? So just understand this conceptually. Beings exist. There is such a thing as beings existing. Because there is beings existing, there is energy that lives, then it is possible to have birth. Okay? Who disagree? Okay, next. Then here the Buddha say, you have existence because of the clinging energy. Beings exist because the energy that makes it possible for existence is the energy of clinging. This part, you have to just accept it. This is logic. This is not, logic can't figure this out. Okay? So basically he's saying that there is another birth and then another birth and then another birth and another birth because you want to live. You cling on to life. So at the moment when you are dying, right, your instinct is, 我要活, I want to be alive. Then, alive again. Okay, maybe it doesn't puchok, but the idea is when there is this energy of clinging, you will pop again. Okay? Clinging and craving, not the same. Agree? Clinging is almost like scratching. Craving is just one thing. Clinging is far stronger as an energy than craving. Okay? So if there isn't a I want something, you wouldn't I want. So that wanting is the start of this I want. Okay? But craving, why is there craving? Because I got a good feeling or something. I got a good feeling, or I can have a bad feeling. If you have a bad feeling, don't want this. You see that? It's because of feeling. Feeling is conditioned. How this feeling comes about? Because there's contact. How does contact come about? Because there is such a thing as a being. There is mental. This is nama rupa. Nama rupa, if there were no nama, is mind, rupa is form. If there were no nama rupa, where got contact? But you can have a nama rupa only because there is consciousness. Make sense? With this as condition, there is now it's flipping around, huh? Okay. It's flipping the other way. You see that? Because of nama rupa, there is vijnana. Because of vijnana, there's nama rupa. These two operate together. And then it goes on back again. And when there is birth, there's aging, there is death, and everything else. This was the origin of the entire mess of dukkha. So Buddha was showing how dukkha arises as a result of craving. Craving, clinging, and it goes on. This part, not difficult to understand, yes? This version of conditionality is not difficult to understand. There are different versions. But the whole idea here is this exists because of this condition that will come about. In order that because all this is about letting it go. So you have to bring it down to what is the final thing you have to let go of. And if you are on this path and you're practicing very carefully, you realize the final thing you have to let go of is craving. But craving will come about. It's actually ignorance. You can let go of ignorance, craving will drop. But that's a story for a different day, okay? Now, is it obvious that seeing Dhamma is about seeing the Four Noble Truths? There are a few things here. How dukkha is such an integral part of our daily life. Because in every experiences that we have, seeing, hearing, tasting, and so on and so forth, in all these experiences, the craving will seep in. And when the craving is there, there is dukkha. It becomes this way because we didn't know. And we can't resist craving. But once you realize the true nature of the mind, you will catch the glimpse of the exit to samsara. Let me just give you all. It becomes possible to be free, to experience unconditionally. It's called nibbana. Wait. In other words, what I'm saying here is the moment you begin to understand how your mind works, the moment you begin to understand all the interconnected parts, then you have a chance, you have a shot at taming those instincts. If you want to understand how the mind works, how do you try and tame the instincts? How do you learn even to let go? We talk about letting go, like it's, hey, part of the course, man, letting go, it's just letting go. Seriously, it's not that easy, right? We all try. It's very tough. The only way you can do it is once you begin to see the interconnected parts and once you begin to embrace and understand and realize that themes that he kept emphasizing. Realize, understand and realize the points, the nature, the true nature of the mind. The true nature of the mind is things don't last. They keep flipping. And nothing truly belongs to anything. If you internalize these, then it is possible. At the next arising, you go, ayah, again. At the next arising, you say, sian already. It's just again and again and again. And then eventually is, oh, there you are. It's okay. Got used to you. And eventually it's, I haven't seen you in a while. And then finally, oh, not bad. I'm feeling far more at peace. How do you know you're on the right track is when you begin to feel more at peace. That's what I mean when I say you will catch the glimpse of the exit. When you start to feel more at peace, you realize what you're doing is correct. This is the correct path. And then you begin to see how it can be done. If you don't feel at peace, then what you're doing is not correct. And because it's not correct, you haven't quite caught a glimpse of the exit. The reason why I had to slot this line in is this. In this life, you have still the opportunity to learn the true Dhamma, the Buddha's Dhamma. The methodology is still there. This is the way to tame the mind and result in your mind being more at peace. Hard to say in future births whether true Dhamma is still around. And then how? Now with the road map, we are still a bit, somewhat meandering. Without the road map, don't know what happens. You see what I'm saying? So that's why, if you have a chance, just meditate, practice, and try to see as much of the Dhamma as possible. Okay, I'm going to say some final words in terms of concluding this module, because next week, technically it's the last week, okay? In the first part of the talk, we spent quite a bit of time talking about preparing the conditions necessary for the mind to be able to see the Dhamma. In these 2 weeks, in the past 2 weeks, The purpose was to show you how the mind should see and understand itself. Based on what the Buddha had taught, what is it you're supposed to see? You prepare the mind to see. See what? In other words, so you are supposed to see the mind in terms of the core features. That the mental states are impermanent, that this is the link between your habits and why you have stress. And finally, seriously, there isn't an essence. You have to break the habit of keep seeing things with an essence. As long as you see something with an essence, you will hold. When you hold, you will have rebirth. You will find it very difficult to let go. Got essence, got something to hang on to, you see. If you believe that there is such a thing as an essence, then there is a cloak hanger where you can hang things. Everything belongs to these things. But the moment you realize that there isn't this essence, then what are you hanging on to? What are you hanging your things to? It starts to drop. Okay? And then you say, how do we know that's where do you or do you not have faith? If you have faith, that's how you will do it. If you don't have faith, it's okay. Continue to practice and compare. You keep comparing to your own experiences and to the practice. Ultimately, this is about a mind that feels contentment, be at peace, live happily. No ever after, just live happily for now. Okay? For the duration of this life and whatever lives that you have. You know how to free the mind and make yourself happier as a person. Okay? So this is about seeing Dhamma. What are you supposed to see? The final lesson is about what happened when you get it. When you get it, what does it feel like? What does it mean? What is realization? And therefore the last one is Sangha. Buddha, Dhamma, and finally Sangha. Okay?